What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Sunday afternoon edition of Crunch Time here on RotoGrinders, or morning still if you're on the West Coast. Wherever you may be checking us out, thanks for tuning in. And we've got 8 baseball games this afternoon to talk about and hopefully provide you with some winning daily fantasy picks on this Sunday. I am Justin Van Zuden, STL Cardinals 84. I've got TJ Zwarich alongside me. We're powering through the weekend here. Maybe not as exciting as usual. My Cardinals can't buy a victory these days, and TJ is a little under the weather. So I appreciate TJ joining us despite not feeling the greatest. TJ, hope you're on the mend there, and how you doing otherwise?
We are pulling through. I feel about half of myself today. I woke up early, wrote the expert survey, went back to sleep, ready to do the show now, but ready to get into Jordan flu game mode and handle the show, dish out some Spidey bombs for every 50 likes that we get. We're already almost 10 away from the first one, so we're gonna get it popping today.
Oh, well, go ahead, hit that like button. We'll get some Spidey bombs out there today and hopefully have a good Sunday show for you here. Again, just 8 games on the main slate today, maybe a little bit smaller than what we normally see on a Sunday, but there's some later afternoon games today also. But still plenty of stuff for us to talk about. And we'll go ahead and get it kick-started here with the pitchers this afternoon. Not necessarily a deep slate of arms today. There are a couple at the top. It looks like Garrett Cole is going to be the most popular pick today. You've got Joe Ryan, you've got Sandy Alcantara on the mound. Those are clearly the 3 top-end arms. You got a preference amongst those top 3 today?
So among the main group, I think the one that I'm most excited to go with is going to be Cole. Now, it's a tough matchup, but this is still Garrett Cole and a 30% strikeout rate. There are actually 2 other pitchers that I'm looking to take a lot of tournament shots on today, but of the sort of quote-unquote main guys, Garrett Cole's going to be the one that I'm looking to. And then with Alcantara having near similar ownership to Cole, I don't mind getting a little bit less of that and then a little bit more Joe Ryan.
Yeah, it surprises me that Alcantara is getting steam so much. I mean, his strikeouts are down this year. He hasn't really been that great. The Cubs have been playing better this weekend. So I don't know. I like Joe Ryan a good bit in tournaments as well. You're getting about a third of the ownership of Garrett Cole. The masses have kind of been slow to come around on him, but he's been really solid. High strikeouts, low walks. Cleveland isn't exactly a team that really strikes the fear into an opposing pitcher. So, given the ownership that we currently have, I like Joe Ryan a lot in tournaments also. I think Cole is obviously the safe play, but I'll have a good bit of both of those guys. And then the pitching kind of falls off a cliff after you get past those top 3. I mean, the next most expensive pitcher on DraftKings is Kikuchi. And then, if you're on Fanduel, once you get past Cole Ryan and Alcantara, you're at Roansy Contreras and Kikuchi as well. So it's just, I don't know, it kind of becomes a lost mid-range. Joey Lucchesi getting some ownership because he's facing the Rockies. Steven Matt's getting some ownership because he's facing the Tigers, but both of those guys have been terrible. Is there any like SP2 or I want to load up on all the bats, so I want to use a cheaper pitcher on FanDuel? Is there anybody that you feel at least reasonably comfortable with today?
So 2 guys in tournaments I'm actually very interested in getting to, and one is the aforementioned Yusei Kikuchi. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been many of occasions that Kikuchi just kind of is terrible and doesn't show his best stuff, but when he's on, he's been pretty darn good. And so far this season, he's only got a 4.36 xFIP. He's actually been a little reverse splitsy. He's been better to righties. He hasn't been striking out any lefties. Well, he's only going to face one lefty today, and there's no Andrew McCutchen in that lineup for Pittsburgh, who is definitely the bat we're most afraid of going up against left-handed pitching. So Kikuchi and his 26% strikeout rate to righties, I don't mind getting to in tournaments today. And then the other guy that I'm looking to get to quite a bit in tournaments is Mark Miller. Kansas City is going to be a little bit chalky today. Yes, Miller's given up some power. However, and yes, he's walked some lefties, but he also has struck out 26% of lefties and 30% of righties to start this season. And he's going to get 4 different righties in this lineup for Kansas City. So Mark Miller is somebody that I'm taking a lot of shots on in tournaments as well. Mason Miller, not Mark Miller. Sorry.
I like him as well. I'm surprised that the ownership is so low, and I'm surprised that Kansas City is so popular. I mean, I know Oakland's bullpen is really bad, and as you mentioned, Miller has had some issues with the walks, but it is still the Royals, and I think today is the day for sure that I don't mind being underweight on those Kansas City bats, whether or not you're getting to Miller. The other guy that I think it's more of a gut feel for me. It certainly isn't supported by the overall numbers, but I think Hayden Wesneski is an intriguing option today. Basically the cheapest pitcher on the board. He's $7K on Fanduel. He's $5,600 on DraftKings. Highly regarded prospect for the Cubs that, his poor numbers are largely skewed by one completely awful outing against the Mariners. But he's been better his last couple of starts. He's had some tough matchups. He gets the Marlins today, who are struggling. I think Wesneski is a viable, cheap SP2. He's better on DraftKings than on FanDuel, where you can pair Wesneski with one of the top-end aces and still get some of the bats you want on DK. So anything else from a pitching perspective that you are interested in?
Nope, that is basically going to be it for me today. I have 50% Cole, 35% Kikuchi, 30% Alcantara and Miller, and then I'm mixing in a little bit of Matz, Ryan, Wesneski, and then I have like less than 5%, but they're still in my lineups of Contreras and Quantrill as well. That's kind of how I'm going about things today. My 2 big stands are going to be Miller and Kikuchi. Everywhere else, I'm just getting even-ish on the field. Might try and get a little bit more Hunter because I'm with you with that one as well, though. We have reached the necessary amount of likes for the first Spidey Bomb. Second Spidey Bomb's coming at 100 likes, but Rob, let's take it.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thief.
All right, Spidey Bomb number 1. The books know that this guy's hitting one today because his best odds are minus 280 over on DraftKings. Not great.
Hopefully not minus 280.
Plus 280, sorry, over on DraftKings. The Mark Miller minus 280. The sickness brain is
it's
is
the cold medicine.
Today.
Cold, the NyQuil is getting to you.
Yeah, exactly. Plus 280, and that's Dalton Varsho. I really like him to hit a home run today, but he's going low owned over on FanDuel. We have some potential weather in that one, but it looks like it's probably just going to be a late start and play. Dalton Varsho is Spidey Bomb number 1. Next one coming at 100 likes.
All right, couple reminders for you here before we get into the pitching. If we get into the hitting, rather. If you are in a legal sports betting state, don't forget you can sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply on that. And also, don't forget the Wills Take Your Pick'em show. That's the new show from RotoGrinders DFS Pick'em expert and leader of the Prop Shop Discord channel, Will Priester. He's kicking off this new show for fans of those sites like Prize Picks, Underdog, etc. Catch the Take Your Pick'em show live every weekday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern for an early look at the board for your favorite pick'em sites. Get the expert plays from Will himself before the stats and the lines have a chance to update. We will also have guests on from time to time throughout the industry, so you can check that out on the RotoGrinders YouTube page as well. All right, let's go ahead and dig into the bats. I think interesting slate in terms of how to handle offense today. We've got quite a few teams with totals in that 4.75, 5.25 range. Who are some of your favorite kind of overall teams to target this afternoon?
So Philly, Boston, are kind of standing out right in that first game as teams that I really like. St. Louis has the highest total on the board. Kansas City going up against a terrible bullpen. We like Oakland with a high team total going up against K-City. I like as well. But I think my favorite stack that isn't going to be picking up much ownership today is definitely going to be Toronto. Like, that's my number one tournament team today.
I'm in agreement. I wrote that in the article today that, these are the kinds of slates where Toronto gets overlooked. Roansy Contreras, he's a decent young pitcher. He's got good stuff. He's got a lot of potential, but he's inconsistent. The command can get him at times. And Toronto is that offense that, when we saw it last night, I mean, they can just explode on a moment's notice when they get it rolling. So with you on your Blue Jays today, I think they're interesting. Philadelphia, I like quite a bit. Boston, I think, is another team that against Walker, who struggled, I like. I mean, the Cardinals have the highest team total on the board. I'm obviously, I'm unable to talk about the Cardinals objectively at the moment because I'm so upset with them. But I mean, at some point they're going to break out. At some point they're going to at least win a game. It's like getting a root canal, just trying to win a game at the moment for the Cardinals. But I don't know. I'm having trouble getting there with how high their team total is and them being at least reasonably chalky today. So I can kind of take or leave the Cardinals, but do like Toronto, Philly, Boston. Cardinals, I'll probably be a little underweight on. Royals, we've talked about, I'll be a little underweight on. Like the Mets a decent amount as well. So I think those are the teams that are generally targetable from a stack standpoint today.
And I mean, call me a little bit crazy, but I actually really like the Rockies today going up against the somewhat chalky Lucchesi. And I don't mind getting to the Tigers either.
Yeah, never a bad idea to pick on the cheap pitcher or the, kind of mediocre, cheaper pitcher that ends up being relative chalk. I don't mind that approach, pretty much every time that happens. And you're going to, with the weak pitching slate today, you're going to see those guys be pretty popular. So I don't mind going to some of those offenses that maybe aren't very good, but you get some leverage if they end up being a team that scores 7 or 8 runs today. All right, let's go ahead and start digging in position by position here. We'll get to your questions before lock. We've got 1:35 roster lock time today. Let's start at catcher. What are you looking at there today?
So at the catcher position, hold on, I just got to switch back over to my lineups page. There we go. Danny Jansen is going to be my highest owned guy. I am setting kind of a rule today that just based on that Toronto weather, I'm not getting any Blue Jays plays as one-offs today. I'm only getting them in stacks so that either that full lineup is dead or Toronto's not in that lineup at all. Jansen is the one I'm getting to the most, followed by JT Realmuto and Salvador Perez. But this is a position that I'm really just mixing things up today. Like, I'm getting a lot of guys in my stacks. Connor Wong, Carlos Perez, MJ Melendez, Wilson Contreras, Francisco Alvarez, Eric Haas. I'm kind of all over the place today, catcher.
Roth's latest update was about 20 minutes ago on that Toronto-Pittsburgh game and says it looks like a pretty clear late start and play, but he doesn't get to make that call. Obviously, these two teams don't play again, so it would be tough to roll through a reschedule of just that one-off game when the teams don't make another trip against each other. So I think they're going to get that game in today. If you are a little bit worried about it, then pivot away. There's obviously enough games we can target. But Eric Haas, another guy I like as well a little bit today. Sal Perez, going to be the most popular option. But I mentioned in tournament builds, both TJ and I are kind of on the same page here of maybe going a little bit underweight on KC against a good young pitcher in Miller today. So, all right, let's go ahead and move to first base. What are you looking at over there?
Belt is going to be my highest owned guy today, which terrifies me because he has not been great to start the year. So many strikeouts for this guy. Vinny P for KC, I like quite a bit. Joey Gallo is another guy that I'm looking to get significantly overweight on. Probably my favorite spot for tournaments today is going to be CJ Crone. I'm getting above 10% of Crone today, and nobody's playing him up against Lucchesi. Goldschmidt is probably like the optimal play today, the chalk. I like going down to Vinny P a little or Belt a little bit better. And then everybody else is just guys that I'm getting in some stacks like Cassis and Noda and Bohm, etc. And then the last kind of one-off guy that I like getting to always is Pete Alonso.
If you're playing on Fanduel too, you've got Bryce Harper at first base, so he'll be fairly popular on Fanduel, whether it's people playing him either in first base or in the outfield. Jesus Aguilar, another guy that hits left-handed pitching really well. Oakland, you can continue to get some value there. He's 2,800 on FanDuel, 2,400 on DraftKings. Kirilloff is pretty cheap. So if you're looking for a punt there at first base, you can potentially get it with some of those guys that we just mentioned. And again, reminder, we'll get to your questions here shortly. If you are a premium subscriber at RotoGrinders, you can get those in the RotoGrinders Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. We are in the MLB Crunch Time channel. We will certainly prioritize your questions in there. And then if we've got additional time available, we can grab some from the YouTube. How's the stats looking over there?
We got 83 likes right now, so we are 17 away from Spidey Bum number 2.
All right, click that like button. We'll get a few more likes and give out another home run pick here today. Let's move to second base. What are you looking at there this afternoon?
Second base today. There we go. Nolan Gorman is actually the guy that I'm getting to the most. This is my favorite Cardinal on the slate. He's been smashing the ball this year, even though the team's been disappointing. Outside of him, it's mostly just a stack position. I don't mind Gleyber Torres as a one-off, but Espinal, Stott, Merrifield, Edmund, Polanco, Massey, Valdez. These are guys that I'm only trying to get in stacks today, not trying to one-off.
Yeah, second base has been a pretty weak position for much of this year, so I don't mind taking that approach myself. Gorman is he's the Cardinal I like the best today as well, maybe Nootbaar a little bit too, but like Gorman, I think Bryson Stott leading off is a guy that I like as a value. He's 2,800 on FanDuel, so he would be, I think, a comfortable play in any format for me if you're looking to get away from some of the more expensive options at second, but it's not like anybody is completely breaking the bank there, at least on FanDuel in terms of where they are priced. All right. We're going to get the Discord popped up here so that we can get to these questions fairly shortly. We've still got plenty of time, though, so let's go ahead and pivot on over to third base. So what are you looking at over there today?
Devers is the top play of the day here at third. He's going to pick up some ownership, but if I'm choosing between the two chalky guys in Devers and Arenado, I'm definitely going with Devers in this one, even though Arenado did just homer in his last game. The Blue Jays are going to be my next highest owned guys here, Chapman and Espinal. I like getting to a little Jose Ramirez. I'm not stacking Cleveland today, but I am getting to some Ramirez. Eaton and Garcia, if you got to go cheap, I do like Miguel Garcia today. And everybody else is just guys I'm getting to in stacks.
Yeah, Devers is probably my favorite overall play on the slate. Just the way he's been smashing against right-handed pitching, big-time ISO. He's just shown pretty good upside all year long, and Walker has really struggled so far this season. So give me Devers, even though he's pricey, as the clear spend up at the position. You mentioned it. Arenado did homer yesterday, but otherwise has really been struggling for a couple weeks. Would like to see him put a few games together before going back there, particularly when he's chalky. If you're looking to go cheaper, you can go to Brett Beatty. You can go to Brian Hayes if you want. But otherwise, Devers is pretty clearly the spend up on the slate for me. And I will try to get him at third in as many lineups as I can. All right, let's see. Go ahead and move over to shortstop now. What are you looking at there?
7 likes away from the Spidey Bomb. Let's get it popping. Bobby Witt Jr., especially on DraftKings, is probably going to be the chalkiest play on the day. I do still like playing him as a one-off or in a Kansas City mini stack a lot more than I do the full stack today for Kansas City. However, he's not my highest owned shortstop. My highest owned shortstop is going to be Bo Bichette. Love getting to Toronto today, and I love getting to Bo. Javi Baez is another one who's been hitting the ball a lot better lately. I've been talking about getting some Detroit players. Carlos Correa, I think, is fine. Trey Turner, I think, is in a strong spot today. If you want to get to a little Lindor, a little Tommy Edman, both of those are fine. But it's a pretty actually deep position today.
Yeah, it is. I like the Correa call. Quantrill has really struggled this year. His numbers have been alarmingly bad, and also some reverse splits tendencies from Quantrill this year. So I don't really necessarily like the full stack of Twins today, but the righties with the low strikeouts of Quantrill, so somebody like Correa, I think makes a lot of sense on a slate like this one. All right, I'm pulling up the Discord chat. I am going to pull up the YouTube as well. Make sure to hit that like button. 278 people watching, and we are at 102 likes now, TJ. So you know what that means.
All right, 150 for a third Spidey Bomb. That's Spidey Bomb number 2 today. Hit us, Rob.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thief.
So I talked about liking the Rockies today in tournaments, and another player who I like from a DFS perspective and to hit a home run today in bets, we got Chris Bryant, who is plus 500 on Fanduel to hit a home run today. Love those odds. Spidey thinks he's going to hit one out. And Chris Bryant is Spidey Bomb number 2.
All right. So Chris Bryant, the second pick. Somebody asked for the first one, which was Varsho. So, all right. So Varsho and Chris Bryant, the calls so far today. All right, let's go ahead and let's see. We got through shortstop. I mentioned I like the Correa call. Baez has been crushing the ball against the Cardinals this weekend. If you want to go there, never a big fan of playing Javier Baez, but he is still pretty cheap. Rodolfo Castro hitting 5th for the Pirates if you're not on Kikuchi. But like you say, it's pretty deep position, and spending on somebody like Witt, Lindor, Turner, Correa seems to be the way most people will go at shortstop today. All right, let's go ahead and pivot on to the outfield, and then we will get into your questions here in the last 10 minutes or so of the show. What are you looking at in the outfield today?
So obviously we have our Spidey Bomb here, Dalton Varsho, who I like quite a bit, probably my favorite outfield play. But Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber, especially on FanDuel, is just in a phenomenal cheap spot today. George Springer on FanDuel is also really underpriced. Chris Bryant, a Spidey Bomb, another player I really like today. I like the duo in Oakland, Brent Rooker and Ramon Laureano a little bit. Nootbaar's fine. Gallo's fine. Like, this is a really Grichuk, another guy I didn't mention. Like, this is such a strong position today. On FanDuel, this is probably where I'm going to be using my utility.
All right. The Pirates have announced a brief delay to the start of the game via their official Twitter feed. That was a few minutes back, but they're clearly anticipating playing the game just with a slight delay at the start. So at the moment, still expecting that one to eventually go, but might be a brief delay. All right, my picks in the outfield, agree with most of those guys you mentioned. I've been playing Esteury Ruiz all weekend, leading off for Oakland, brings that speed to the table, even against a lefty. I think he's fine. Laureano still pretty cheap on both sides. I mentioned Nootbaar being a pretty good play today, with even though the Cardinals have been struggling. He's got 9 hits in the last 3 games, so seems to be coming around there in that leadoff spot. Kyle Schwarber's really cheap on FanDuel at 3,100. If you're looking for a guy that might be a little bit more viable on FanDuel than on DraftKings, I do like Schwarber as on FanDuel. I mean, he's playable on DraftKings as well, but the price tag is a little bit higher over there. The same goes for Springer, as you mentioned just a couple minutes ago. Let's see, kind of scrolling down. Brent Rooker is a guy that's probably a little more viable on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. If you're on DK, you can play Eric Haas in the outfield. I do like Matt Vierling as a punt also, leading off today against a lefty. He's 2,400 on both sites. So those are some options you can use in the outfield today. We are at about 10 minutes left until lock. Let's see, get your questions in. So we've only got a couple in the Discord. I will come back and grab those in just a second. But for those that might just be tuning in, again, the home run calls so far: Chris Bryant, Dalton Varsho. Maybe if we can get up to 100. And, did you give a number for a third Spidey bomb?
150.
Oh, 150. Wow, you're setting the bar high today. High bar. TJ's ill, and he will not have any of the discounted like buttons today. All right.
I feel like we should have more likes since Toughen It Out being here ill today.
That's right. Playing through the Q tag. All right. And again, for those of you that just might be tuning in, pitching summary today: Garrett Cole is the top arm. We both like Joe Ryan a good bit in tournaments. If you're looking to go cheap, TJ likes Kikuchi kind of as a lower owned mid-range guy. I like Wisniewski as a punt at pitcher today, especially on DraftKings if you need a cheaper arm.
And we both like Mason Miller. Mason, yeah. Not Mark, quite a bit.
I do work with a Mark Miller, so I'll let him know that he's made it to the bigs.
You tell him that I'm a fan.
He's got a good right arm. All right. Achilles, any love for Jazz Chisholm on FanDuel? Again, I'm on Wisniewski a little bit today, so I'm pretty much off of the Marlins bats. They're only projected for like 3.7 runs, but any love for Chisholm for you today?
I'm in the same boat with I like Hunter Wisniewski, and so I'm not getting to a lot of Marlins, but I'm still getting like close-ish to 10% Chisholm individually. I like the Marlins more as a mini stack of like Chisholm and Jesus Sanchez and throw another one in there. So I don't mind him today.
I barely caught it, but I think you called him Hunter and it's Hayden. So
oh my gosh, Hayden was
you got the first letter right. Those first names are going to escape you today.
Who's Hunter isn't that a person too?
With the same last name?
Yeah, Hunter Wisniewski.
I'm gonna have to look that up now.
Maybe not. It's literally just somebody I know. Nice.
You know it. You know a Hunter Wisniewski.
I googled it and his Instagram popped up. So yeah, it's literally just somebody that I know.
Fair enough. All right. I often wouldn't be able to pull his name out of without looking at it either. All right, let's go to some of these other questions in the Discord. FanDuel Cash, Correa and Springer, or Baez and Varsho?
I'd go Baez and Varsho.
All right, FanDuel Utility for Cash, Nootbaar or Arenado? Which partner you like better?
Nootbaar.
I agree, even though it feels a little weird just the way he's swinging it right now. I think Nootbaar is the play. Let's see. FanDuel Cash, Kirilloff and Polanco, or Stott and Springer?
Stott and Springer.
I agree with that one as well. All right, keep getting your questions if you've got them in the Discord. We've got about 5 minutes left until lock. Brandon with a question in the YouTube chat. It's a 3v3 DK Cash. Gorman, Nootbaar, and Baez, or McNeil, Laureano, and Witt?
Probably the second one.
That's pretty close. I don't mind either combo.
I don't either.
Musical One says, what do you think of Wisniewski? I think he's perfectly fine as an SP2 on DraftKings. Probably not necessary on FanDuel where you only get one pitcher. It's just tough to go with the cheap punts, but it works pretty well, I think, on DraftKings where he's $5,600. Could you play Ryan and Wisniewski? Yeah, I think that's fine. What about Feltner? Boy, that's pretty deep for me. He's just not very good. Any interest in Feltner?
No, I got no Feltner.
Same. If you had to fade a pitcher today, who would it be? I think it's Alcantara for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's like the one reason I'm kind of afraid of that fade is just because that wind is blowing in at Wrigley today. But still, he just hasn't been that same strong pitcher that he has been in the past. One of the reasons I like Kikuchi and Miller so much is because even if they get bopped around for a few runs, they do still have significant strikeout upside.
Yeah, so that goes to Beaner's question. Would you play Alcantara in the FanDuel GPP? Not on my radar today, but that he is going to be somewhat popular.
For what it's worth,
Falco,
like he's my third highest owned pitcher today. I have 30% of him. It's just the field is going to have more.
yeah. Falcor says, would you play Wisniewski on a FanDuel single entry? It's a bold one.
How cheap is he on FanDuel?
It's like $7K.
Probably not.
He's the cheapest starter outside of the Tampa opener.
I would try and get to 7-7 for Mason Miller.
Jay Sams on FanDuel in Boston stacks. Do you still like Yoshida? Only reason he's asking is because Walker gets a lot of ground balls and Yoshida has hit the ball on the ground, but he does have 6 homers. Yeah, I think pretty small sample size with him yet, so I think Yoshida is just fine.
Yeah, he's my 4th highest owned outfielder.
Any interest in a twin stack on FanDuel today?
Yes.
Yeah, Quantrill's been really bad. I kind of like and he's also shown reverse splits, so I kind of like just plucking out a righty or two. You know, you get Correa, Miranda, and you know, you can do a one-off or a mini stack. So Beaner says, if you're fading Alcantara, who would you play other than Cole? I have Cole and Wisniewski tagged on DraftKings. You know, that's if you're on FanDuel, like you can just play Cole, or you can go to Miller, or you can get Lucchesi and Matz are going to be somewhat popular, but on FanDuel, you know, it's Cole and Ryan mainly, and I don't want to spend down. So if you're looking for a lower owned stud, I prefer Ryan over Sandy.
Playing the same game as yesterday. I'm trying to get one more new build in before lock here in 2.5 minutes. At least the difference is today all my settings were right before, so I won't have a bunch of hitters going up against my pitchers. But I'm trying to get one more adjustment in, get a little less Alcantara, a little bit more Miller and Kikuchi. And my last build didn't have as much Philly as I wanted it to have, and so I'm trying to get a bit more of that in here. Let's see. It's 1.5 minutes till lock, and there are 75 more lineups to build. Do you think I got them in?
I'd say generally yes, but sometimes the builder can lag a little bit. I don't know, it'll be tight. Favorite full stacks today. I mean, obviously the Cardinals and, you know, the Mets and those high total teams are going to be somewhat popular. I kind of like Boston as a team that maybe isn't going to be quite so chalky, that does have an intriguing ceiling today. All right.
Yeah,
how's
like
that 70
Toronto,
lineups?
I like Toronto, then Philly, then Boston, then Oakland, then Minnesota, I think are kind of my top 5. 30 lineups left.
Oof, man, you're cutting that tight. You got 52, 51, 50 seconds until lock. You might not get there. Let's see. Is Alcantara and Feltner stupid on DK with the St. Louis stack? Well, the Cardinals have lost 1 billion games in a row. I don't like Feltner and I don't like Alcantara today. So that would be like the last lineup I would build. Doesn't mean it's not the right answer. But I hope the Cardinals score 1 million runs today, but I don't have much faith in them at the moment. So we'll see. Hopefully they can break out of their skid this afternoon. I've been slightly distracted during the show because my son is on the other side of the room playing MLB The Show, and he is built like a 400-pound beast of a man that in Road to the Show, which is apparently named Big Daddy. And Big Daddy is a large man who I also believe is roaming center field for some reason.
Nice.
I don't know. He doesn't really seem to have the range, but I just caught that out of the corner of my eye. 400-pound beast rumbling around the bases. All right. And I believe we're at lock now as well. So I was okay to get distracted for a second. Did you get your lineups in?
No, about 20 seconds short, but that's all right. It's not like there was anything wrong with them. It was just I was hoping to get a bit of an adjustment with the build. Didn't have as much Philadelphia as I would have hoped. Had a little bit more Boston than I would have hoped. That's all right. And all of a sudden, most of my Toronto kind of disappeared, which I don't love. I had about 20% Toronto stacks before, and it went down to 10% Toronto stacks. So not exactly the lineups I had hoped, but it's more spread out around more teams than it was before anyways. So.
All right. Well, with that, we will.
Do we want a bonus NBA parlay? Not
go
financial
for it,
advice.
Rob.
So it's Celtics -1.5 with Tatum over 29.5 points today. If you want an NBA parlay.
Lots of stuff going on. It's there's like 3 NHL playoff games today as well. You got the NBA playoffs in full swing, full slate of baseball. Plenty of stuff to keep you occupied on this Sunday. Appreciate you all hanging out with us. We will go ahead and put a wrap on the show so that TJ can get some rest and hopefully feel better. Thank him for joining me despite being less than 100% today. Appreciate the help. Of course, I'm Justin. Thanks to Rob also for producing, and thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your Sunday, everybody. We'll catch you later.